So Johnny had taken me to a spot in the area a little while ago, or a couple weeks ago really, to look at it and see how the deer were using this beaver pond. I really like beaver ponds a lot. And he's like, there's another one, you know, a good ways upstream. Let's just go check it out and break it down. Thought it'd be a good idea for a video to discuss these beaver ponds. Hopefully there's actually a beaver pond there. Shows it looks like there isn't one on the map, but sometimes they can get trapped or move out of the area. So we'll check it out and just kind of look at the whole area. It's in the middle of a thermal hub too, so I'm sure there's gonna be some sign down there. Southeast is the prevailing wind, but we've got kind of west-northwest is actually almost similar, so it could be a bunch of different directions here. But let's go walk, hit that edge. I like that.
That little dip there, that low spot. Forest. Look at these trees, dude. Ain't that crazy?
Those are huge.
Yeah. And these are the ones from the tour.
We're going,
we kind of want to go.
Yeah, we go that way.
Yeah, right down along this drain here. Yeah, we got over this way a little bit too much. There's some ferns here.
Yeah.
Check that out, dude.
That is huge.
That's wild. It's almost like a rock face or something.
Yeah.
Ain't it? That's cool.
That's cool. Look at this looking branch, pretty high up here.
Oh yeah. This is a cool little spot, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of deer back here, but they would probably come to this spot from all around. They're definitely dug in here. Yeah, I see it, bro.
Oh, we got a buck track here.
Yeah?
Not a huge one, but 3-year-old type deer. Got some pointed toes on them, but that's maybe 2-year-old, but buck track though. That means there's a buck here somewhere.
Is this someone's yard?
Yeah, we coming. Someone's camp back here or what?
This is cool.
I don't want to say it yet, but you know what? I will.
This sucks.
I'll give you a beer if there's not a scrape under that hemlock limb.
Ooh, I wasn't even paying attention. You're probably right, though. He probably walks right down this edge.
Tell me, please tell me.
Might be too wet during hunting season.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
I think Johnny gets a beer bowl.
I was gonna give him one anyways.
I'm getting one no matter what. This is pretty cool down here. Them low-hanging hemlocks to where he can, you know, this is wide open.
You
He might be
travel across right
Yeah.
there.
There might be a scrape there.
Yeah.
This is a spot that I would like to hunt with, like, in a rut, like if we find some sign without cameras or something, just to know that it's good. You don't know.
You don't know what's
coming through here.
Yeah. And it's one of those areas that you could put cameras and you will probably shoot a buck that you don't have on camera, because the odds of, well, I don't know this yet, but the odds of a deer living right here are probably slim to none. But you know, traveling through, coming off
with
of
all
that
this
ridge
vast
or this
land,
just
you don't know what's
looking for
moving.
does,
Yep.
and it looks like from our sign we're seeing it's pretty low deer density. But no, when I find these beaver ponds, to me a lot of them are very rut based setups, and because they funnel movement down, these deer are traveling up and down the correct bottoms, because you see how thick it is down in some of these spots here. Does will lay down low here. Those bucks can cut their trails as they cross, and then they can also go up in the neighboring ridges. And this spot is in a hub system, so I would imagine there's going to be a bunch of traveling that comes through here. I mean, we'll see, but usually the top edge and the bottom edge of the beaver ponds can be really good if you find the right spot. Got a rub here. It looks like maybe a bed, maybe nighttime. He's laying down here, rubbed a tree a little bit. Nothing too, I mean, did a little damage, but nothing too crazy.
Look in here. He laid right here, I bet. Check this out.
Oh, that's not a bad rub back in
No.
there.
That's a cool spot. You know he was laying here. Huh.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Look, and that's, you know, he could lay right there.
He's watching that way, and he maybe has the thermals coming up, or maybe they're falling.
No, they could. Yeah, it could be falling down in here, and he's got so much back cover there. Nothing's gonna come from behind him.
Yeah, it's a cool little spot. You know he laid here.
But the thing is, like, this spot, even though there's not a ton of sign right here, you know, it's not. I don't think it's really telling the whole picture. Now I want to find some sort of sign. I mean, that's decent rubs, but not screaming, you know, big buck worth hiking way back in here. But these types of spots like this would, if you do find that sign that says, you know, a big deer somewhere around could be cruising through, or there's some does bedding down in here, I would not throw out hunting a spot like this, because you can, depending on how you would set up, you can get it where your thermals are falling down in that beaver pond and they're crossing up above you here. And I'm assuming there's going to be a trail running off of that side. It's just a travel area. You know, you're not really hunting that sign, you're hunting that travel between those different places.
Yeah.
But I still need to see more sign
Yeah.
to be like, oh, I'm going to come, you know,
Yeah. Put a
spend
camera
precious
here.
November
Yeah.
days in here.
I'm pretty sure that was this year.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty
If
good
not
rub.
last year, yeah.
Looks like, I mean, this is kind of like a signpost in a way, because you can see it was hit in previous years too. Man, I bet the wind does some wonky stuff in here, with just kind of all these drains just hitting this like little flat spot here.
Yeah.
I bet you get a little bit of swirling going on.
There's a couple trails. Look at that. That was probably got some good activity.
Yeah. So this spot with when Johnny picked it out on the map, there's a few things that really stood out for it. Was in the hub of all these different valleys, this thermal hub that kind of runs down in here, plus Beaver Pond, which is going to funnel movement. It's a difference in the vegetation. There's different grasses that are growing here. There's a bunch of different stuff going on around Beaver Ponds traditionally. And coming in, you know, Johnny knew, he was like, you know, this area has a bunch of blowdowns and a lot of the sameness as some of the trees up there. So I wasn't really sure, but it is so vast and so far in, you just don't know what's going to be in here. And so far, there's nothing that's been like jumping out at us like, this is great. You know, we found a buck track, but not a real big one. Found some rubs, but nothing amazing. Found some scrapes, nothing great. You know, and just not a whole lot of deer sign. But still, it's just need to see more. You know, there's a rub right down there.
Yeah,
need to
it's
see some
definitely
more.
has crossings here. I'm sure there's more activity here in November. You could probably kill a deer here. I just don't know if there's so few deer here and it's vast that they're not really hanging out here a lot. Maybe there's not a ton of deer crossing for a buck to say, I'm claiming this spot. You know, maybe the deer might be scattered out a good ways, so he's really traveling up in this area to find does. It's not like, hey, I'm just waiting for them to cross. I don't think there's enough deer, high concentrations of deer. I feel like there would have been more sign up higher on these hills.
Yeah, which, I mean, we did only come down one hill, so that's, you
Like
know.
we got in that drain and there's just not a ton of deer back here. I think that's the main
Yeah.
reason that we're not seeing all the sign.
Yeah, and one thing to note too is one thing that I like to do, especially when you come into an area like this, it would take you a week to cover all these hills and be able to scout it. Really kind of using the bottoms like we're about to do and run this bottom all the way down until we hike back up the hill to the vehicles. That gives you the best idea of sign, because there's always concentration of sign in the bottoms, so that you're not wasting time up in the hills. You might find something and miss something being in the bottom, but it's just being efficient with your time.
I think there might have been ferns here. Look at them starting to sprout.
So some of that dewberries there too.
Yeah, there's some blackberry briar. Yeah, that looks like a deer was feeding here.
I'm not upset yet.
No, me either.
It's just part of it.
There's still a little meat on the bone here. a big rub here.
Oh my gosh. So we just said we weren't giving up yet on this spot, and I'm glad we didn't say that because we have a giant scrape here. It's just on this little flat spot on this bank, and Johnny just spotted a magnum rub up here on the side. So we'll go up and check that out. But we're right at the very head of the beaver pond here, and got this big scrape, big rub. That's what we were looking for. Double thumbs up, that's cool.
Yeah, that's a good rub there. That's this year, he put a hurting on it. That's cool. Definitely a good deer. I'm anxious to get down here further at the bottom of the pond to see where the other crossings, see where they're crossing down there. There might be, that might be an old rub there.
Yeah. What do you think the significance of this like little high spot here is? Because I mean, we have big rub there, and old that might be hit last year.
Yeah, that could be.
That one, we got that big scrape over there, some other rubs just on this little tiny knob here.
I like
spring seep in the back.
I like all these hemlocks, these smaller hemlocks. It gives him cover, and I think he's working the edge of the beaver pond, just kind of working it like this. And he's just putting this scent here, but I think he's up in here, tucked up in here, and just kind of looking out and staying in this cover, you know, crossing these drains, maybe catching
trying to catch the doe trails crossing, maybe even.
So he's maybe working up and down this creek, just inside the cover. We'll just keep working the edge. That seems like where the sign is, the edge, and but he's catching them trails like you said, Beau, that are crossing this way. And I like all this ground. Look at all these bumps in here, Beau. Like he can come down in here and just be hidden and walk right up here.
Bunch of doe beds up here, Johnny.
Is there?
Bunch of doe beds, yeah.
There is a trail coming down here, Beau.
Is there?
Right below this pond.
This looks like a place you can see them sneaking down through.
Yeah, I
like
like
that little low spot next to those hemlocks.
all them
there.
little hemlocks. Got a lot of, you know, small open areas. This is where he's going to want to cross, not these big open areas. Like it's getting a little congested in here. Not as much open area to where he probably feels safer.
There should be an absolute magnum scrape right here.
I can't believe it. I mean, it is wet here, but
It don't matter.
why isn't there? I mean, there's a trail right here. They're crossing.
So now on the bottom side, we found that trail just like when Johnny and I were talking about, through all these little hemlocks coming across here. And you see there's some multiple bends in the streams. When you find those bends in the streams, a lot of times that's where some of the trail crossings are, when they start doing the S curve back and forth. And well, we did find another stand here, but after further review, it looks like the guy hasn't been here in quite a few years. So I don't think that's really much of an impact at this point. But this is a good trail crossing coming through here. Looks like mostly doe tracks and maybe a young buck that you can see coming across in the mud here. But these are the things that, I mean, that guy's got a good stand location here. The one thing I would do different, but maybe because there's just not really good trees here, you probably could get in this hemlock here. It'd be tough to get shooting lanes, but I want to be on the down side of the trail, on the downstream side. He's on the upstream. In my opinion, if a deer's coming across, he's not even going to get to the creek and he's going to smell them from his thermals just falling down into this spot. So for me, he's in a good location, but the setup ain't great. And honestly, I'm not really seeing, other than this hemlock possibly, but it'd be tough to kind of get in, is I'm not really seeing a good tree right here. And sometimes that just means you're not really able to hunt this exact spot, but
And you got,
or get on the ground.
so you do have this trail below that little bit of a beaver pond, and I'm looking down here is a big open area.
Yeah.
So there's nice cover for a deer to cross in between these open areas.
As you call it, the seam.
The seam, two things meet.
Yep.
Got an open area in an open area. We got a little seam where they're touching and we have some cover.
At the beginning, we were really just trying to cover ground quick, find some sign, get down to the beaver pond. And first we weren't really finding signs, so we're just kind of moving our way quickly. And now we're starting to find mostly rubs and following these rub lines. I mean, good rubs, not a whole lot for scrapes. There's been a few, but nothing super significant on the scraping side. But these rubs are telling a story. I mean, looking at my track and watching how he's moving, and now it's kind of heading up this drain. I don't know if he's going to go up the drain, or as Johnny said, maybe he's following around the creek and just trying to move around. There's so many blowdowns and stuff going on in here, and trying to catch a scent from a doe trail that's running down out of some of these drains. But now we're really just dissecting this area and trying to learn this specific spot and why. There's definitely a good buck in here, but why is he doing what he's doing, and when is he using it? Yeah, it's all freaking tore up.
It's a good high rub. There's another one back in there, or no? It might be a spot for a buck to bed there, right there, it looks like, Beau.
Yeah.
Some old rubs here. There's some deer shit here. I'm sure deer laid. Here's an old rub. Nothing this year, but there's a big deer laying here, I'm sure, and rubbing. This is fresh.
That's fresh.
Huh.
Yeah, that's fresh.
This one here was hit this year. You got sap coming out. This was hit.
Yeah, that's fresh. He's breaking some branches back in there.
This might get better. I mean, this guy, if he stays out of here.
I wouldn't worry about that guy. I don't think that guy's in here.
I mean, this is definitely, I think, archery, you could have some luck. I don't
Yeah.
think he's coming down in here.
This buck was all worked up.
I just can't believe we're not seeing the scrapes I thought we'd see in here. It's kind of weird.
So where we just found the last rubs was about 100 yards up the creek here. We're just walking down. We're walking down this valley and kind of following his rub line. And you can see the direction of travel. He's kind of crossing the creek, coming back, moving. And we got to this spot in this crossing here where it gets pretty nasty with some blowdowns down below here. And there's a big scrape here, a nice rub, and some other rubs back here. Honestly, Johnny, I think this is a spot. This is a place I would hunt. Now, we're a little ways off that beaver pond, but it's still working in the whole play of things. You know, the travel is coming down from there. It might not be right on that beaver pond, but we're a good 200 yards off the pond itself. And down here, you can see this crossing going up. I want to look at this other bank here first before I completely say anything. But one of these trees back here on the bank, you could come up, climb right up inside the back side of it, shoot about 17, 18 yards to this crossing. But what I want to see is another trail that's up there on that side, so you have multiple opportunities to be able to shoot. But I like this spot. If you were sitting right there on that bank, a nice cool morning, everything's falling down in the water, it's all blowdowns below you, they're not going to cross down below you there. That's a foolproof setup.
Yeah, there's a couple on the app. You can see some drains up on this hillside coming down. That deer's traveling this creek.
It's thick.
Catching these trails. Yeah, let's jump up on that hillside.
We're just on our way back to the truck now. We came out to this dirt road and heading back up there. I mean, what are some of your thoughts?
There's definitely a buck traveling. I think being that it's a good hike back in there, I'm probably not going back. Send one of my buddies back if we need a spot.
Yeah, and no, I think what I was looking at, that you can kill a buck in there, and you 100% can, but I would need to know a lot more to feel confident, because you know that rub line we found through there, who knows if he's just going through there once or twice in a year, because he's traveling looking for does. There wasn't a whole lot of food, there wasn't a whole lot of things, and that's part of it. I mean, you know, we've been confident the last couple of days, being out finding a lot of great sign and going through it, and we were, you know, getting cocky about it jokingly. And you know, today we were like, oh, I bet there's a scrape under that tree. No scrape.
No scrape.
But there's this up here, not there. And sometimes
I just think
you have those spots.
Like you said, that's one thing we didn't find. The cover's there. The food isn't there. So there's no reason, I think, like I said earlier, for a buck to just stay in that hub, in that bottom, and you know, catch does. But he's traveling. There's bucks. Could be one. Could be probably several.
Yeah.
Walking that creek, walking up along that beaver pond and rubbing and putting sign down. Seems like at every trail crossing.
I think you sit in there November 5th to the 15th, you're gonna have an opportunity to get a buck.
It'd be a good spot to go, to get away. Sometimes I like spots like that, and you know, we scouted enough, you know, there, like you said, 5th to 15th, I just want to try somewhere different. Maybe if you got a lot of guys that moved in your areas, like I want to get back into an area and I don't want to see nobody, and that'd be a fun place to hunt and not know what's coming through. Always look for places like that too, you know, just to get away from people.
No, that's exactly right. It's definitely not a, you know, a wasted trip whatsoever. And I think, you know, we showed a pretty good idea of how we scout like the beaver ponds, and, you know, starting either at the top or the bottom and just kind of working your way around it and seeing and having that as kind of that central hub, because you're going to see sign and crossing and stuff from there. And like you said, there's a buck coming from somewhere through there.
Yeah.
And yeah, did we find some beds where he could be laying there? Yeah, he could be. But like we've talked about in these areas where there's no, you know, dedicated food source, there's a lot of wandering that goes on. Some of those beds might be used once or twice in a year, and that's it, and move along. And maybe another buck comes and lays in it once or twice, and
yeah, you're right.
And that's kind of it. But yeah,
it wasn't, you know, a wasted trip.
No,
it never is.
No,
when you're out in the woods hiking.
No, never is a wasted trip. But super vast area. Definitely don't, I mean, we saw those stands there, but I don't think you're going to run into people in archery season.
No, I doubt anybody will be in there.
Yeah, but we've, I think we got a couple cold ones on ice back.
You know it.
So I appreciate everybody watching the video here. If you like the channel, hit the like button and subscribe, and check out the podcast, and you hear whole lot more Johnny, and hopefully we do some more of these scouting videos.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's helpful.